Chosen one. Heaven has paused for you. Everything around you may seem ordinary, yet something deep within your spirit feels the stillness, the divine hush before the thunder of revelation. This is not coincidence. This is divine interruption. Heaven has pressed pause on the noise of your day so that you would hear what must be spoken now. There is urgency in the unseen realm, and your spirit has been summoned to attention. You are not like the rest. You were never meant to blend in. From your first cry, your name was etched into the scrolls of destiny. God marked you as one of His chosen, set apart for times such as these. That's why your path has been heavier, your pain deeper, your isolation more intense. You've wondered why others could move carelessly while every step for you seemed like a battle. It's because your life has purpose woven into it, purpose that hell fears. Listen closely. Something is shifting. The spiritual atmosphere trembles. Heaven is dispatching warnings, but only the awake can hear them. You feel it in your chest, a quickening, a divine stirring that you cannot explain. The world is laughing, distracted, sleeping, but heaven is calling you by name. You sense tragedy forming in the distance, a wave that will test what people have built their lives upon. Yet in this, God's hand is not absent. The shaking is preparation. The storm is not punishment, it is purification. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah. Chapter 29, verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. You have walked through invisible wars, nights when tears were your only language, when you whispered prayers that even you doubted heaven heard. But every whisper reached the throne, every tear was seen. The reason you survived what should have broken you is because purpose demanded your survival. You are evidence that grace still intervenes. Chosen one. Tragedy does not come to destroy you, it comes to reveal what is unshakable within you. The enemy has studied your patterns, waiting for exhaustion, waiting for distraction. But heaven is already several moves ahead. Your obedience is your shield. Your awareness is your weapon. Right now, the divine message is clear. Do not drift back into sleep. Guard your peace. Protect your focus. There are voices that will try to soothe you into complacency, to convince you that this warning is just emotion, but the Spirit confirms truth through the unrest in your chest. That unrest is not anxiety, it's alertness. You have been prepared in secret. Every delay, every no, every heartbreak was shaping a warrior. The breaking was not rejection, it was reformation. You've been molded into someone who can carry revelation without breaking beneath its weight. You are no longer who you were. You are who heaven needs you to be for what's coming. There will be moments soon when you feel the air change spiritual static, tension that makes no sense in the natural. When that happens, don't run. Stand still. Listen. God speaks clearest in stillness. Don't let noise rob you of instruction. In that silence, you'll hear strategy. Heaven will begin to drop visions, directions, and names into your heart. Some of them will make no sense now, but later, you'll realize they were pieces of the rescue plan. Beloved, what you do in this moment matters. This is not entertainment. This is divine instruction disguised as a message. God is calling you to be the intercessor, the voice in the gap, the one who prays while others panic. The tragedy that is forming will be heavy, but you will not be crushed by it. You will be the one standing in faith, while others tremble in fear. Lift your head. Straighten your shoulders. Heaven does not issue warnings without also releasing grace to endure. You are stronger than you feel, and braver than you believe. The anointing that rests upon you was designed for crisis. It activates under pressure. When darkness rises, your light expounds. When chaos spreads, your authority increases. Now, before this moment passes, seal your alignment. Heaven always watches for response. Type 777 inches, the comments. Let it be your prophetic declaration that you are awake, alert, and aligned with heaven's movement. It's not superstition, it's symbolism, a visible act of obedience that echoes in the unseen realm. And if this message spoke to your spirit, don't hesitate. Like, share, and subscribe, not out of routine, but as an act of faith, a signal to heaven that you are connected to this divine flow. You are part of a remnant rising, a family of chosen ones being gathered from every corner of the earth. When the storm comes, this connection will remind you that you are not alone. The air around you feels charged, as if creation itself is holding its breath. You can sense it, the tension between realms, the subtle vibration that precedes divine movement. You know deep down, this is not imagination. It's awareness. Heaven is whispering, and only the chosen recognize the sound. You have walked through storms before, but this feels different. It's Keter. No lightning, no thunder, just a still, sacred unease stirring within you. It's the whisper before the storm. The moment when God rearranges pieces that human eyes cannot yet see. It's that split second before the wind changes direction. When everything seems calm, but heaven is already in motion, you are being invited into divine alertness. When heaven whispers, it is never without purpose. The silence you feel right now is not abandonment, it's instruction. Heaven often speaks in hushed tones, so that only those near to the throne can hear. You, chosen one, are being drawn closer, taught to discern signals that others dismiss. According to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 5, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. Those words are not gentle suggestion, they are command. This is the time to trust even when logic fails you. The whisper of heaven does not consult reason, it calls for surrender. You cannot interpret divine movement through human logic. You must feel it in your spirit, where God places his instructions long before your mind can comprehend them. Chosen one, this stirring within you is not fear, it's faith awakening. The world measures security by what it can see, but heaven measures it by what it can sense. The unseen is shifting. The Spirit is preparing you for an event that will reveal hearts, expose motives, and refine destinies. You were never meant to be surprised by it. You were meant to be prepared. Every whisper from heaven is an invitation to reposition. That's why you felt an urge to simplify, to detach from unnecessary noise, to protect your peace. You might not understand why certain doors have closed suddenly or why familiar faces are distancing, but heaven is curating your circle, removing voices that would drown out divine direction. Don't mourn what leaves in this season. It's making room for clarity. The whisper before the storm is sacred. It is the mercy of God giving you time to anchor before the winds rise. Pay attention to the small things, the changes in your spirit, the unusual dreams, the random moments of conviction. Heaven is speaking through every subtle sign. What feels like inconvenience might actually be intervention. You are not meant to move in panic. You are meant to move in precision. Panic makes you run. Precision makes you rise. The whisper is teaching you to hear God in quiet patterns, the way a scripture suddenly shines differently, the way a memory surfaces with meaning, the way peace and unease alternate until you discern which is divine. These are coordinates from heaven, guiding your next step. You've prayed for confirmation, and this is it. The unease, the heightened sensitivity, the strange timing of everything. It's heaven saying, prepare. You will soon see a shaking that reveals where foundations truly stand. But the ones who've listened to the whisper will not fear the storm. They'll understand its purpose. Don't confuse stillness with stagnation. The stillness you're in right now is strategic. It's the spiritual eye of the storm, the calm before acceleration. Heaven pauses to align before it releases. You are being aligned right now with divine timing, divine protection, divine revelation. The world around you will soon question what's happening. Many will rush, react, and resist. But you, chosen one, must remember, revelation always precedes manifestation. You've heard the whisper so that you'll stand steady when the thunder finally comes. Be at peace. The trembling in your spirit is not a warning of destruction, but of destiny. The storm is the stage on which your faith will shine. The whisper is heaven's way of saying, I am with you. Do not fear. No. So breathe in the stillness. Let it strengthen you. The storm may be forming, but you are already being fortified. When others tremble, you will discern. When others flee, you will stand. For those who trust in the Lord with all their heart never fall when the winds begin to blow. The night you almost lost it all is the night heaven marked you forever. You remember it, don't you? That breaking point when hope seemed to vanish, when silence filled your prayers and your strength faded into nothing. The world saw defeat, but heaven saw deliverance. That night wasn't your end, it was your beginning. It was the moment when every force of darkness realized you would not be easily destroyed. Chosen one, the pain you've endured was never random. Every betrayal, every sleepless night, every door slammed in your face, it was all permitted to prove the strength of what God placed inside you. You didn't survive by chance, you survived because purpose refused to die in you, even when you couldn't see it. Heaven was fighting battles behind the veil. You thought you were breaking, but you were being built. The moments when your tears fell quietly in the dark were the same moments. Angels stood guard around your soul. You didn't see them, but they were there recording every ache, collecting every tear, turning your weakness into weapons. What tried to bury you only deepened your roots. Heaven speaks clearly through the words in Deuteronomy, chapter 31, verse 6. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. All those words were written for warriors like you. They weren't meant to be recited softly, they were meant to be declared with power. God never promised an easy path. He promised His presence. You didn't lose that night. You found proof that even in the valley, you were never alone. The enemy thought that night would silence you, but it awakened you instead. You learned that strength isn't the absence of pain, it's persistence through it. You learned that faith isn't built in sunlight, it's refined in shadows. And most of all, you learned that being chosen doesn't exempt you from storms. It gives you authority within them. You have scars. Yes, but they are sacred. They are the fingerprints of God's mercy, pressed into your history. They tell a story not of weakness, but of divine endurance. The reason the darkness fought so hard to keep you down is because it saw your potential before you did. The enemy knew that once you recognized who you were, you would become unstoppable. That's why the battles intensified right before your breakthrough. You didn't lose friends by coincidence. You didn't experience loss by chance. Heaven was pruning your path, clearing distractions, and severing what couldn't follow you into your next season. What felt like abandonment was actually alignment. You may still feel the echoes of that night, the questions, the weariness, the memories that sting when you try to move forward. But hear this truth: nothing that tried to destroy you succeeded. You are still here, still breathing, still chosen. That alone is victory. Even now, heaven watches your resilience with awe. You've kept moving when others quit. You've kept believing when logic said, stop. You've carried light through valleys that would have extinguished lesser souls. That's why you're being reminded of that night now, not to reopen wounds, but to reveal how far you've come. The same hand that held you in your lowest moment is still upon you. The same presence that whispered through tears now speaks through power. You are stronger, wiser, and more anointed because of what you've endured. The tragedy that almost broke you became the testimony that will strengthen others. But before that can happen, you must acknowledge what heaven already knows. You made it through because you were never meant to die in the fire. You were meant to rise from it. You were meant to carry the smell of smoke as proof that even flames obey the voice of your God. So, chosen one, pause for a moment. Reflect. Remember the nights when your soul trembled, and yet grace kept you upright. Feel the weight of what you've overcome, and let gratitude fill the spaces that once held fear. You didn't just survive, you graduated in faith. And now, to mark your agreement with heaven's truth, type these words in the comments: I'm still standing. And write it not as repetition, but as revelation. When you declare it, you affirm that every attack failed, every lie collapsed, every attempt of darkness only pushed you closer to purpose. It's not just a comment, it's a confession, a public declaration that your survival is your victory. Cry. The night you almost lost it all became the proof that you cannot be lost. You belong to the one who never leaves, never forsakes, and never forgets his own. That is your inheritance, your identity, your unshakable truth. You are still standing and heaven is applauding. There is a deep stillness in your soul tonight, the kind that feels like the air before lightning splits the sky. You've been sensing it for days, a subtle tension that pulls at your spirit, an awareness that something immense is forming beyond sight. This is not anxiety. It's the vibration of prophecy moving closer. Heaven has begun to unseal what was once hidden. And you, chosen one, are one of the few permitted to feel it before it unfolds. The prophetic disturbance doesn't announce itself with trumpets or thunder. It begins as a whisper, a soft yet unmistakable stirring in your chest. You begin to see signs. Things that used to make sense suddenly don't. Routines feel hollow. people you trusted start to reveal unfamiliar faces. It's not coincidence, it's exposure. When heaven begins to shift seasons, everything false begins to tremble under the weight of truth. This is what you are feeling. You are walking through a divine unveiling. The storm you sense is not just natural, it's spiritual. It is heaven's way of separating illusion from reality. There will be headlines, turmoil, confusion, but underneath it all, God is establishing order. The tragedy that looms is not meant to destroy, it's meant to reveal. As the ancient words recorded in Romans chapter 8, verse 18 declare, I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. End of tell. That single truth anchors you now. What you've endured, what you've carried, every ache, every unanswered question. It is all the soil where glory is about to bloom. You have felt crushed, misunderstood, and even silenced. But heaven was cultivating a voice that could not be corrupted by flattery or fear. You are not being punished, you are being prepared. The prophecy of disturbance comes with a paradox. It brings chaos to the surface so that peace can be purified beneath it. You may feel the shaking in your relationships, your finances, even in your thoughts. That is because God is rearranging your structure from the inside out. He cannot pour new wine into old skins. He cannot reveal new glory to those still clinging to expired comfort. Chosen one, do not resist the shaking. Embrace it. Every collapse around you is heaven clearing the stage for divine manifestation. The loss you mourn may actually be liberation disguised as pain. You prayed for clarity. This is how it comes. Through exposure. Through removal. Through the unraveling of what cannot endure the weight of the next season. You've asked, Lord, why does everything feel uncertain? Because certainty cannot coexist with revelation. Faith requires darkness before it finds dawn. The tragedy you feel approaching may not be destruction, it may be the death of illusion. The breaking of false securities, the unveiling of hidden truths that set you free. The prophets of old spoke of times like this, when nations would shake, when the proud would stumble, when hidden corruption would surface so that light could no longer be denied. You are living in such a time now, but rather than fear it, you are called to perceive it rightly. What is falling apart is what was never founded on truth. What remains is what heaven has established. So, when the world trembles, do not lose your peace. Stand still and listen. The Spirit is not silent amid chaos. He is speaking instructions in the noise. He will show you where to stand, what to speak, and when to move. His whispers will become clearer the darker the storm becomes. This is the mystery of divine disturbance. It does not come to punish, but to purify. It removes counterfeits and strengthens the authentic. It burns away everything not rooted in heaven's design. You will soon look back and realize that what you called tragedy was actually transition. What you called loss was actually leading. And what you feared most became the door to your destiny. Do not despise the disturbance. Welcome it. It means heaven is near. It means that what you prayed for is finally unfolding, though not in the way you expected. The true prophecy is never comfortable. It confronts, corrects, and cleanses before it crowns. Lift your eyes beyond the surface. Look at the pattern emerging through the chaos. You will begin to see divine fingerprints where others see disorder. This is how heaven writes through storms. through silence, through shifts that only make sense afterward. One day soon, you will say, "It had to happen this way." The prophecy of disturbance is not a curse, it is a call. It's heaven saying, "Prepare, for glory is approaching, clothed in chaos." Stand firm. Keep your spirit clear. What you feel shaking beneath you is not the end. It's the sound of prophecy being fulfilled through your life. Chosen one. The heavens are watching tonight, not in judgment, but in invitation. You have been entrusted with a sacred duty to stand guard, to keep the flame alive while others sleep. This is not a poetic calling, it is a spiritual assignment. The moment has arrived when heaven is gathering its watchmen, those who refuse to let darkness rule the night. And you, whether you realize it fully or not, have already stepped into that role. You've always felt it, the pull to stay awake while others drift off. The sense that something inside you refuses to rest when the world goes silent. That's not insomnia, that's intercession. It's the Spirit stirring you, the divine alarm ringing within, saying, "Stand watch, stay alert, protect the light." Every watchman knows the burden of loneliness. You've prayed when no one saw you, cried when no one asked why, stayed faithful when no one thanked you. But heaven noticed. Every whispered prayer was a torch lit in the dark. Every tear became water for someone else's seed. You have been building invisible altars in the night, and heaven has recorded every one. The apostle reminds us in his letter to the Corinthians, chapter 15, verse 58. Therefore, my dear brothers and sisters, stand firm. Let nothing move you. Always give yourselves fully to the work of the Lord, because you know that your labor in the Lord is not in vain. That is heaven's reminder to you. Your labor is never wasted, even when it feels like no one sees. Heaven does. When you intercede for others, when you choose integrity over convenience, when you hold your peace instead of defending your name, you are building eternal foundations that storms cannot destroy. There will be moments when you wonder if it's worth it. The weariness creeps in like fog, and you ask, "Why must I always be the strong one?" But beloved, strength isn't punishment. It's evidence of trust. God entrusts the weight of vigilance to those he knows will not drop it. You were chosen to guard others because your spirit is anchored in truth. Think of yourself as a lighthouse. You do not chase ships, you shine steadily, guiding them home through storms. You may not always see the ones you've saved, but heaven does. Every act of obedience sends ripples farther than you imagine. And just as a lighthouse needs oil to keep its flame alive, so do you. The oil of encouragement, of community, of mutual faith. No light burns endlessly without being refilled. That's why this message exists, not to demand, but to remind. Every like, every share, every subscription, every act of support you give is a drop of oil that keeps this flame burning, not for me, but for every soul who will find hope through your obedience. When you engage, you become part of the watchtower itself. Your action extends the light farther, to those who are still walking through their own valleys, the stories that heal hearts, the words that lift the broken. They travel on the wings of your generosity. Even a small act can become divine multiplication. And yes, if your heart feels stirred to give, whether through prayer, support, or donation, do it, not out of pressure, but out of partnership. Think of it as adding another brick to the tower, another lamp to the wall, another voice to the chorus that says, "We will not let darkness win." Every bit of fuel sustains the message that has already sustained you. The world gives in transactions, heaven gives in transformation. What you share is never lost, it's multiplied. You are not funding words, you are fueling warfare. Every click, every prayer, every seed you sow becomes armor around someone who's barely holding on. Remember, even the smallest ember can light an entire forest. When you engage, when you share, comment, subscribe, or give, you are helping the fire of faith spread to places that may never hear your voice, but will feel your light. You are not an observer, you are a co-guardian. Together, we become a wall of flame around the weary postis, a network of light stretching across the earth. So, chosen one, keep watch. Keep your lamp trimmed and your heart pure. Heaven has placed you on the wall, not to fear the coming storm, but to signal its passing. You are part of something larger than yourself, an army of luminous souls awakened in the midnight hour. And as you continue to shine, remember every gesture of love, every shared flame, every act of support keeps this message alive for another chosen one still wandering in the dark. That is how watchmen change the world, not by shouting louder, but by burning longer. Your light is seen, your labor is known, and your faith, even in silence, is rewriting destinies. You've begun to notice it, haven't you? The same number appearing again and again on clocks, receipts, street signs, even in your dreams. It's not coincidence. Heaven speaks in patterns, and this time it is speaking loudly through 888, the number of new beginnings, divine cycles of resurrection, and supernatural renewal. You are not imagining it. The frequency of heaven is calling your attention to alignment. Chosen one. This is not superstition. This is synchronization. When God wants to mark a turning point, He sends signs in repetition so your spirit will take notice. You may have dismissed it before, but now your awareness is sharpening. The number 888 carries a message. What has ended will not end you. The old chapter has closed. The new one is already being written. Every ending you feared was loss has been transformed into seed. Heaven never wastes pain. It recycles it into purpose. You have been walking through what felt like spiritual drought, but the pattern of 888 means rain is near. Fresh anointing, renewed clarity, restored vision. The spiritual frequencies are shifting in your favor, and heaven is confirming that through signs your mind can comprehend. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 19, verse 26, "With man this is impossible, but with God all things are possible." Lo, those words are not poetic, they are prophetic. They remind you that your situation is not bound by logic or statistics. When heaven decides to move, nothing can stand in its way. The number 888 echoes that same truth. What seems impossible is already unfolding in unseen realms. The obstacles that once terrified you are now trembling before your faith. Chosen one. You may feel the strange tension between exhaustion and expectation. You've been emptied on purpose. Heaven drains what is stagnant so it can fill you with something fresh. The weariness you feel is not weakness, it's a sign of transformation. You are standing in the threshold between what was and what shall be. The number keeps appearing because heaven is saying, "Don't give up now. Resurrection is in progress." Your spirit has entered a new season of divine multiplication. Ideas you once abandoned will revive. Doors that slammed shut will open wider than before. People who dismissed you will witness your restoration. But take heed before expansion comes. Purification. Heaven is still pruning distractions, removing what drains your spiritual energy. The cleaner your space, the louder heaven's voice will sound. There will be moments when the old world tries to pull you back familiar habits, voices of doubt, even opportunities that look good but carry hidden traps. Don't be deceived. Not every open door is divine. Some are distractions designed to delay your destiny. The number 888 appears as both comfort and caution. Comfort, to assure you of divine renewal, and caution, to remind you to move only when heaven confirms. Look back for a moment at where you came from, the struggles you thought would bury you, the heartbreaks that almost silenced you. Now see how they've shaped the strength within you. You carry evidence of survival. Every scar on your heart is a testimony that grace still works miracles. Heaven never promised you an easy journey, but it promised you transformation through it. And transformation is exactly what is happening now. Your perspective is shifting. Your prayers are maturing. You no longer ask, "Why me?" but "What now?" That change alone is proof of growth. Heaven responds faster to maturity than to emotion, and the number 888 is heaven's applause. It celebrates your evolution. In this new beginning, your discernment will sharpen. You'll notice divine patterns faster. Conversations will carry hidden wisdom. Even your dreams will begin to reveal instruction rather than confusion. You will sense timing, direction, and peace, where before there was only uncertainty. This is not luck, it's alignment. Do not fear the speed of what's coming. When God restores, He redeems time. What took years to build will suddenly accelerate. Divine connections will appear in unexpected places. And when they do, remember this, it's not about chasing opportunity, it's about recognizing divine orchestration. The same God who sent signs through numbers is weaving every detail of your destiny together perfectly. Now pause. Chosen one, take a breath. Let your heart feel the rhythm of heaven through this moment. You are not lost, you are being recalibrated. The same God who turned chaos into creation is turning your confusion into clarity. The same Spirit that raised Christ from the dead is breathing resurrection into your weary places. And now, to seal your agreement with this divine new beginning, type 888 inches the comments, not as superstition, but as declaration. When you type it, you are saying, "I align with heaven's renewal. I welcome my resurrection season." That number is not magic, it's meaning. It symbolizes your rebirth, your readiness to rise, your willingness to walk forward without fear. Heaven is watching for your response. Every act of acknowledgement echoes in eternity. The angels who've been guiding you through silence now rejoice to see your faith awaken again. You are not entering a new season, you are becoming one. The number has found you because destiny has caught up with you. The night grows deeper, and the shadows move differently now. They seem almost aware of you, of the light you carry. That's because they are. Darkness recognizes light long before light realizes its own strength. The moment heaven marked you, the unseen realm took notice. You may not see the battle, but you feel its echoes, the exhaustion that hits without reason, the sudden fear, the strange resistance that rises whenever you step toward purpose. These are not coincidences. This is warfare. The shadow that hunts light does not chase the indifferent, it hunts the illuminated. You are that illumination. Every time you choose truth over convenience, every time you pray when you could complain, every time you forgive when you could retaliate, you disrupt the plans of darkness. Light does not need to fight to win, it only needs to appear. The presence of light automatically exposes what hides in the dark. That is why you've been targeted, not because you are weak, but because you are radiant. Darkness always studies its threats. It studies your habits, your fears, your distractions. It attacks not through monsters, but through moments when you are tired, when hope flickers, when words wound deeper than swords. It whispers doubts disguised as logic, makes you question whether God truly called you, whether you truly matter. But you do. Your existence alone is rebellion against the empire of shadows. The Word of God declares in the book of Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 12, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms." Oh, those words lift the veil. They remind you that the conflict you sense is not personal, it's spiritual. The people who misunderstand you are not your enemies. The delays you face are not mere coincidences. The frustration you feel is not simply emotional, it is the pressure of the unseen trying to keep you from walking in divine authority. But understand this, chosen one, light does not panic in the presence of darkness. Light expands. The enemy's greatest fear is your awakening, because once you know who you are, his deception loses power. That is why confusion attacks your mind. That is why apathy tries to numb your passion. The war isn't to destroy you, it's to distract you. For if you ever move in full awareness of your divine calling, the shadows will scatter before you. You have already won more battles than you realize. The fact that you're still standing proves that the darkness has failed repeatedly. Every attempt to silence you only made your voice stronger. Every setback refined your faith until it burned like fire. You are no longer who you were. You have evolved into someone whose very presence shifts atmospheres. Still, the shadow doesn't give up easily. It changes tactics. It may come through weariness, making you too tired to pray. It may come through familiarity, using people close to you to speak words that pierce your peace. It may even come through false comfort, inviting you to settle for something smaller than what heaven promised. Recognize these forms. The shadow rarely announces itself. It prefers disguise. And yet, you are not defenseless. You are armed with discernment. The moment you sense heaviness that doesn't belong to you, pause. The moment confusion floods without reason, speak light into the air. Heaven responds to sound. Say, "Peace, be still." Say, "I choose truth." The authority you carry is not quiet submission, it is divine command. Do not forget, light never struggles to exist. Darkness is the one running out of time. Each dawn proves it. Every sunrise is a sermon that the night always ends. And within you burns a dawn that no storm can extinguish. You are not a flicker, you are a flame. Chosen one. Remember those moments when you felt utterly surrounded, yet peace descended like a soft shield. That was heaven proving that light doesn't have to be loud to conquer. Even silent faith terrifies hell. Your quiet trust, your unshaken composure, your whispered prayer, in the dark, all of it is warfare. There will be days when the battle feels invisible, but the exhaustion feels real. When that happens, don't retreat. Rest in the truth that you are already covered. You do not fight for victory, you fight from victory. Heaven already wrote the ending. The shadow is simply acting out its defeat. So let the darkness move and mutter. Let it attempt to intimidate. You, chosen one, were made for this hour. Your light was not given to decorate, it was given to dominate. Stand tall. Walk in awareness. Wherever you go, shadows will scatter, because they always bow before the brightness of divine purpose. There comes a sacred turning point, a line drawn by heaven, where calling becomes distinction, where the many who are called are separated from the few who are chosen. You are now standing on that invisible line. You may not have realized it yet, but the last few months of your life have been one long test of authenticity. Every silence, every delay, every disappointment has been heaven's way of measuring what you're made of. The separation doesn't look dramatic at first. It begins quietly, in moments when people's true motives start to show, when familiar faces reveal unfamiliar hearts. Those you once leaned on begin to distance themselves. And for a moment, you wonder if you've done something wrong, but you haven't. This is divine sorting. The wheat is being separated from the tares, not by human decision, but by divine design. Chosen one. This stage feels lonely, but it's holy. You are being peeled away from attachments that can't breathe in your next level. Some will not understand you anymore. Others will misinterpret your silence as pride. But heaven understands. The anointing you carry requires isolation before elevation. Every chosen vessel must walk through a corridor of solitude before public revelation. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Elijah. Chapter 18, verse 21. How long will you waver between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal is God, follow him. Lot. That ancient question is echoing through the earth again. Heaven is calling its own to make a clear stand. No more blending in. No more divided loyalty. No more walking halfway between conviction and convenience. The days of neutrality are ending. The called can afford to waver, but the chosen must decide. You felt this tug in your spirit, the pull between the familiar and the holy, between comfort and conviction. At times, you've tried to maintain both worlds, to hold on to certain relationships or habits that once felt harmless, but now they drain you. They no longer fit. That's because you've outgrown what once sustained you. The oil on your life has changed, and the old containers can't hold it anymore. It's painful to release what once felt safe. Letting go feels like loss. But in truth, it's graduation. Heaven promotes through pruning. You are not being punished, you are being purified. Every name that leaves your circle, every door that closes unexpectedly, every opportunity that dissolves before your eyes, they are all evidence that heaven is refining your surroundings. God is protecting your next assignment from contamination. The chosen cannot move with everyone. That's not arrogance, it's assignment. You are not called to be liked. You are called to be light. And light, by its very nature, exposes what hides in shadows. When your illumination increases, some people will retreat, not because you hurt them, but because your presence convicts them. Let them go with peace. You are not responsible for the discomfort that truth creates. The separation is not only external, it's internal. You'll feel your spirit shifting away from things that once entertained you. The conversations that once amused you will now grieve you. The ambitions that once consumed you will suddenly seem empty. That's transformation at work. God is cleansing your appetite, redirecting your desires toward things eternal. This phase will test your obedience more than your endurance. It's easier to wait than to walk away. Yet heaven is watching how you respond when release becomes requirement. Will you cling to what's comfortable or trust what's coming? Every chosen vessel must surrender what once felt essential to receive what is truly eternal. In this moment of divine separation, your discernment will sharpen. You will begin to notice small distinctions, voices that sound spiritual but carry no life. Opportunities that appear golden but hide compromise. Invitations that sparkle but drain your peace. Don't ignore those gentle alarms. The Holy Spirit is guiding you not to isolation for despair, but to consecration for destiny. Soon, you'll look back and see that the solitude wasn't punishment, it was protection. You'll realize that heaven was preserving your purity while preparing your platform. When the unveiling comes, the same people who misunderstood your silence will see your purpose and understand why distance was necessary. The chosen walk, narrow paths. It's not a road of popularity, but of power. The cost is high, but the reward is holy. God is entrusting you with influence that can only rest upon clean hands and a steadfast heart. You are being refined so that when you speak, heaven's authority will flow through your words without obstruction. So, stand firm in the separation. Do not mourn what is fading. Bless it and release it. The garden always feels emptier after pruning, but soon it blooms fuller than before. The removal you feel now is making space for divine fruitfulness later. This is the season when heaven divides so that it can multiply. The separation of the called and the chosen is not cruelty, it's clarity. And you, chosen one, are crossing the line. There are moments when heaven doesn't just whisper, it cries. You can feel it now, deep in your spirit, a heaviness that isn't yours, a sorrow that doesn't have a name. That is the cry from the throne room, the lament of a creator watching his creation drift further into confusion, forgetting the sound of his voice. You are hearing that cry because you are tuned to his frequency. You are not weeping for no reason. You are feeling what heaven feels. The world moves faster. Every day screens glow. Voices shout. Opinions flood like rivers. But above the noise, there is a trembling sound. It's not thunder, not wind, not war, it's grief. The grief of a father whose mercy is stretching thin, yet still holding. Heaven mourns for those who chase lightless idols, for those who trade eternal truth for temporary comfort. And amid this divine sorrow, your name is being called. As the prophet Isaiah recorded in chapter 6, verse 8, "Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, Whom shall I send, and who will go for us? And I said, Here am I, send me." Those words are the anthem of every chosen one. They remind you that sensitivity is not weakness, it's calling. You were never meant to live numb to the spiritual atmosphere. Your empathy, your tears, your discernment, they are divine tools. Proof that you are part of heaven's rescue mission. You are a bridge between realms, carrying the sound of compassion into a world that has forgotten how to feel. The cry from the throne room is not one of despair, it is one of summoning. Heaven is asking, who will answer? Because so few are still listening. The Spirit of God searches the earth for hearts still soft enough to break, still tender enough to care. And when He finds you, He trusts you with the weight of His burden. You have felt it lately, the ache when you see injustice, the frustration when truth is mocked, the heaviness when you sense people walking away from grace. That's not depression, it's discernment. It's the heartbeat of intercession pulsing in your chest. The Spirit weeps through you so that mercy can still find the lost. Heaven cries through human hearts so that compassion has a voice on earth. But here's what you must understand. Carrying heaven's cry doesn't mean carrying despair. It means carrying hope with awareness. It means you see clearly but still believe fiercely. It means that even when the world looks beyond repair, you still whisper, God can restore. The burden you feel isn't a sentence, it's a seal of trust. Heaven trusts you to feel deeply and still stand firmly. You are not the only one hearing this cry. Across nations, scattered like embers, others are awakening too. Souls who suddenly feel the same ache, the same urgency to pray, the same stirring to stand apart. The cry from the throne room is uniting the chosen across distances, different tongues, different lands. One Spirit. Heaven is gathering an invisible choir, and your heart is part of its harmony. Sometimes you will feel the heaviness without words. Sometimes you'll wake in the night with tears you can't explain. When that happens, don't run from it. Don't numb it. Kneel. Whisper, I hear you, Lord. That acknowledgement alone releases angels to act. The moment you respond, heaven moves. God never wastes a broken heart that listens. And now, as an act of response, type, I hear you. Do it not as ritual, but as recognition. When you type those words, you declare that you're not deaf to heaven's cry. You tell God, I am available. I will carry what you give. I will stand in the gap. That comment may seem small, but in the unseen realm, it is a registration, a declaration that another intercessor has awakened. The cry you feel is heaven's invitation to partnership. Don't see it as burden, see it as honor. When heaven weeps, it chooses to do so through those it trusts. And if you are feeling this weight, it means God trusts you deeply. He sees in you a vessel that will not shatter under compassion, a soul that will not grow hard even after heartbreak. Carry that awareness gently. Walk through your days listening more than speaking. When others vent frustration, you will sense the spiritual root. When others dismiss conviction, you will feel heaven's ache. Don't harden yourself to survive. Soften yourself to serve. The cry from the throne room is not endless. It will one day turn into a shout of victory. But until that day, heaven still calls, still searches, still sends. And when the divine question echoes again, whom shall I send? Your spirit will already know the answer. Here you are, ready, listening, sent. The world trembles on the edge of something unseen. You can feel it in the air, an invisible pressure, like the pause before a wave breaks. Heaven has been speaking softly, but the time for silence is ending. We are standing at the edge of judgment, the thin line where mercy waits one final time for hearts to awaken. Do not misunderstand this. Judgment is not hatred. It is the justice of love, correcting what rebellion has distorted. It is the reset of a world that has forgotten its maker. And yet, even now, heaven holds back the full storm for the sake of those who still listen. For the sake of you, chosen one, who have ears to hear. You've seen the signs. The earth groans. The hearts of men grow cold. Truth is traded for comfort, and deceit wears the mask of wisdom. The edges of morality blur like ink in rain. But amid all this trembling, God still whispers, "Stand firm. My light bearers, the storm will reveal, not destroy." The voice of God thundered in the book of Exodus, chapter 14, verse 13. Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. The Egyptians you see today, you'll see no more. That same promise still breathes. The Egypt of your life, the oppressions, the fears, the systems that once enslaved your mind will soon be buried beneath the waves. Judgment. For some will be justice for others. The storm that terrifies the world will be the same wind that carries you into destiny. Chosen one. Heaven has been preparing you quietly for this very threshold. Every trial was training. Every delay, discipline. You've been learning to listen while others laughed, to wait while others ran. You've been positioned not for panic, but for purpose. When the shaking begins, your peace will be your prophecy. Others will ask how you remain calm, and your faith will become their shelter. The edge of judgment is not a call to fear, but to focus. This is the hour to steady your flame and remember why you were awakened in the first place. You are not just surviving history, you are shaping it through your obedience, your compassion, your endurance. And in this moment, allow me to speak from the heart. Messages like these are not built by algorithms or by chance. They are built by faith, prayer, and partnership. Every word you hear, every story you feel, it all costs something to create and carry. Yet it continues because souls like you help keep the light alive. If this voice, this mission, this flame has spoken to you, nurturate, a like, a share, a subscription. These aren't empty clicks, they are embers. They help the light travel farther, reaching another soul on the edge of giving up. Think of each one as a ripple spreading across dark water. Your small motion becomes someone else's miracle. And for those who feel led to go deeper, to give, to donate, to pour a drop of oil into this lamp, know that it is not transaction, but transformation. When you sow into light, you become part of its glow. Just as torches in a cave multiply illumination, your support multiplies reach. Together, we form a chain of flame stretching across unseen distances. This is not about funding words, it's about fueling watchmen. Every act of generosity becomes a signal fire to others lost in their own storms, telling them they are not forgotten. The harvest of hope cannot grow without seed. If you have been fed here, share what you can. Your encouragement, your faith, your kindness. Each act keeps this mission alive. burning, reaching. You are standing at a spiritual shoreline. Behind you lies everything familiar. Before you, the sea of change. And just like Moses, standing before the Red Sea, your obedience will part what others call impossible. The storm is not your enemy, it is your escort into promise. So when you see the shaking around you, don't run. Lift your torch higher. Become the calm within the chaos, the peace within the panic. Let your faith stand like a lighthouse when others lose direction. Chosen one, this is your calling, to be steady at the edge of judgment, to remind others that mercy still breathes, that deliverance is still available, that light still wins. You are not watching the end, you are witnessing the beginning of divine order. And together, through faith, through unity, through shared flame and sacrifice, we will keep the message alive until the trembling turns into triumph. You may not see them, but they see you. They have followed you through valleys and shadows, through laughter and loss. They are the quiet guardians stationed at the edges of your destiny, the angelic reinforcement heaven has assigned to your journey. You have walked through storms that should have swallowed you whole. Yet here you stand. That is not coincidence. That is protection. From the moment you were marked as chosen, your name was etched on the scroll of divine assignment. Angels were dispatched, not to shield you from every wound, but to ensure no wound would be wasted. Every attack that failed, every trap that collapsed before you stepped into it, every moment when danger brushed close but didn't strike, all of it bears their fingerprints. You didn't survive by chance. You were carried. You felt their presence. Even if you couldn't see it, those strange moments of peace in chaos, that sudden intuition that kept you from turning left instead of right, the inexplicable comfort that came when tears blurred your vision. Those were not coincidences. They were encounters. Angels rarely announce themselves. They move in silence, in timing, in whispers that align your steps with safety. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 91, verse 11, "For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways." Now, that promise was not metaphorical, it was literal. You have a detail of heaven's army assigned to your life. They walk where you walk, fight where you cannot, and intercede in realms you'll never see. You don't command them, they respond to obedience, to faith, to the fragrance of prayer that rises from a surrendered heart. Some of your deepest loneliness has been filled not with emptiness, but with their presence, when you felt no one understood, when your heart carried a weight too heavy to explain. Heaven sent reinforcement. Angels ministered in your silence. You may not have felt wind or wings, but their nearness steadied you. Even in your weakest moments, they have surrounded you, keeping the flicker of your light from being snuffed out. Chosen one, you have walked unknowingly through enemy territory. There were moments when darkness plotted against you in ways you could never imagine, yet the traps didn't spring. The curses spoken in secret never found their mark. The accidents that should have taken your life turned instead into testimonies. You called it luck, but heaven called it coverage. There are assignments over your life that require invisible protection. Some destinies are so disruptive to darkness that they attract warfare before they manifest. That's why the attacks began so early. That's why you were misunderstood, even as a child. Why you faced storms before you even understood what storms were. You were carrying light that the shadow feared, and heaven stationed guardians around you long before you knew their names. Angelic reinforcement does not mean you won't face hardship. It means you'll never face it alone. The heat of the furnace may rise, but the fire cannot consume you. The lions may roar, but their mouths remain closed. Heaven never promised a life without battle. It promised victory through presence. If your spirit has felt unusually sensitive lately, if dreams seem more vivid, if coincidences keep stacking in patterns you can't ignore, it's not imagination, it's activation. The angels assigned to you are repositioning. The spiritual landscape is shifting, and heaven is drawing its warriors closer to the front lines. When the world grows darker, angelic activity increases. You are being fortified for what's ahead. There will be days when you sense heaviness pressing in, when fatigue feels more spiritual than physical. In those moments, remember, you are never outnumbered. The enemy attacks in whispers, but heaven answers in thunder. One obedient angel outweighs 1,000 schemes of darkness. You walk with an entourage unseen yet undeniable. Sometimes their protection looks like prevention. Other times, it looks like peace amid chaos. When you pray and nothing seems to change, look again. The miracle may not be in what moved, but in what never happened. You have no idea how many disasters were silently erased before they ever reached you. Chosen one. Take comfort in this. You are surrounded by strength. Your path is not unguarded. Every step you take, every risk of faith, every act of obedience activates unseen movement in the heavens. The protection of God is not a distant idea. It is a living presence encircling you day and night. Even now, as you read these words, there is light around you. There is movement in the unseen. There is the quiet flutter of wings where your spirit has been weary. The atmosphere is shifting, not because you're reading, but because heaven is responding. You are covered. You are kept. You are protected. And when you finally look back, you will realize you never walked alone. Not for a single breath. You can sense it again, the stirring in the air, the vibration beneath your skin, the quiet pulse of something holy approaching. Heaven is sending a prophetic signal once more, a divine code written not in words but in numbers. This time, the number is 444, the mark of divine order, angelic stability, and prophetic confirmation. This number does not chase you by accident. It appears when heaven wants to anchor what has been declared, when promises begin to manifest, when transition turns into transformation. 444 starts to echo in your atmosphere. It's not superstition, it's synchronization. It's heaven's way of saying, what I promised, I am now establishing. You've been through the breaking, through the refining, through the separation. You've faced nights where your prayers felt unanswered, days where your hope flickered low. But now, the rhythm of heaven changes. 444 is the sound of construction, the laying of divine foundations. The shaking that once unsettled you has now created the ground where heaven will build something permanent, as was spoken in the sacred texts of old. The book of Isaiah, chapter 54, verse 10 declares, "Though the mountains be shaken and the hills be removed, yet my unfailing love for you will not be shaken, nor my covenant of peace be removed, says the Lord, who has compassion on you." Those words arrive like anchors in a storm. They remind you that love and peace are the two pillars holding your destiny steady, even when everything else trembles. Those foundations remain unshaken. That's what 444 means. The covenant still stands. Chosen one. 444 is not just a sign, it's a summons. It's calling you to stand firm in the center of divine order. The chaos around you is not random, it's rearrangement. God is not breaking you apart, He's aligning you. You've spent seasons wandering through uncertainty, but this is the hour of divine clarity. Things that once confused you will suddenly make sense. Delays will reveal purpose. Detours will expose protection. Heaven wants you to know that the next phase of your journey is not built on survival, but on strategy. The trials you endured were not wasted, they were blueprints. You now carry wisdom forged in fire, discernment sharpened through disappointment, and strength sculpted through silence. 444 means it's time to use what you've learned. You are no longer reacting to life, you are constructing destiny. You may notice that the number appears when you are about to make a decision, when your spirit hesitates at crossroads, when your heart feels unsure. That is heaven's gentle nudge, saying, "Stay steady. I am with you. You are on the right path." Trust those moments. You're not being superstitious, you're being sensitive. The same God who used stars to guide shepherds uses numbers to remind His chosen. Look closely at your life right now. What is being built? What patterns repeat? What themes reappear in conversations, dreams, or quiet thoughts? Those repetitions are not random, they are heaven's architecture. You are walking through a sacred construction site, where each challenge is a brick and each prayer a beam. The structure being built is not external, it's you. Divine order always begins within. The 444 appearing around you signals that your inner world is aligning with heaven's rhythm. Your emotions, your faith, your focus, everything is finding its place. The confusion that once clouded your vision is lifting. You're beginning to see clearly again, to discern peace from distraction, truth from imitation. And now, chosen one, it is time to respond. To anchor your agreement in faith and visibility, type 444 inches, the comments below. Not as ritual, not as luck, but as covenant. When you write that number, you are declaring, "I am in alignment with divine order. I am standing in the covenant of peace. I believe what heaven is building cannot be shaken." That simple act becomes a signature in the spiritual realm, a visible echo of an invisible agreement. Heaven records every declaration of faith. Angels mark those who respond, ensuring that what is built in the spirit begins to manifest in the natural. You have reached the moment when all the scattered pieces begin to assemble. The same God who numbered the stars is numbering your steps. 444 means you are entering stability after storms, peace after warfare, foundation after fire. You are being rooted so deeply that no future shaking will move you. You are not drifting anymore. You are being established. You are not merely called, you are being commissioned. This is not just a season of miracles, it's a season of manifestation. The signal has been released. The number has appeared. The blueprint is unfolding. Heaven has confirmed it. Your steps are ordered. Your foundation secure. Your future guarded. Type 444. And let the heavens know you received the message. Fire. You felt it before. But not like this. It's not the destructive kind, it's refining fire. The holy blaze that strips away everything that cannot survive the next season. This is the fire of refining, the furnace of transformation that God uses only on those He deeply trusts. You are inside that process now. Chosen one. And though it burns, it is not meant to consume you. It is meant to reveal you. Gold is never beautiful in its raw form. It glitters only after being purified. The heat that melts away the dross does not destroy the metal, it exposes its worth. The same is true of you. Every disappointment, every failure, every wound, they are the fires that draw out your true brilliance. You may have prayed for elevation, but elevation always comes wrapped in refinement. At times, this fire feels merciless. You wonder why certain things had to break, why certain people had to leave, why the road had to twist through valleys before climbing the mountain. Yet, deep within, your spirit knows God is not punishing, He is perfecting. The pressure you feel is not the absence of grace, it's the intensity of it. Only those who are chosen for greater glory endure greater fire. As was written in the first letter of Peter, chapter 1, verse 7, these trials will show that your faith is genuine. It is being tested as fire tests and purifies gold, though your faith is far more precious than mere gold. And that single verse holds your entire journey. Faith is not proved in comfort, it is revealed in crisis. And your faith, though tested by flame, has not failed. You may have bent under the heat, but you never broke. That resilience is proof that divine craftsmanship is at work within you. There is something sacred about this kind of suffering. It changes the way you see everything. Pain becomes teacher. Waiting becomes worship. Even silence becomes sanctuary. The refining fire teaches you to hear differently, to recognize the voice of God, not in thunder, but in whisper, not in success, but in surrender. You are learning to distinguish between what is essential and what is excess. Every unnecessary weight is being burned away. The opinions of others, the fear of failure, the attachment to outcomes, all of them melt in the heat of divine purpose. What remains after the burning is purity, pure motive, pure heart, pure faith. Chosen one. Don't run from the heat. Stay in it. Fire does not come to those who are forgotten. It comes to those who are favored. It is heaven's way of trusting you with transformation. The furnace you're in is not a prison, it's a workshop. The potter is shaping something eternal from the clay of your endurance. You may not see progress yet, but even unseen metal glows when it's held long enough in the flame. That glow is happening within you now. The radiance of your spirit is increasing, even while your circumstances remain unchanged. People may not notice, but heaven does. Angels see your light brightening in the spiritual realm. They stand guard as God works on your interior, rebuilding, remolding, renewing. The refining fire also separates imitation from authenticity. Some will not withstand what you're walking through. That's all right. Not everyone is called to the furnace, but those who emerge with you will be those heaven has destined to carry equal weight of glory. Refinement reveals tribe. It filters companionship through purity. In this process, your prayers shift. You stop asking for escape and start asking for endurance. You stop demanding explanation and start craving revelation. You realize the fire isn't your enemy, it's your escort into holiness. The very thing that once terrified you is now transforming you. Soon, you will notice the change, not in your surroundings, but in your responses. You'll find peace where anxiety once ruled. You'll forgive faster, love deeper, and discern quicker. The flames that once frightened you will become familiar. They will no longer hurt, only heal. That's when you'll know the refining is nearly complete. And when you emerge, and you will, the shine of your spirit will be undeniable. Others will see the glow and call it strength, but you'll know it's surrender. They'll call it confidence, but you'll recognize it as peace. You will no longer need to prove your worth. Your endurance will speak it for you. The refining fire never leaves you the same. It removes false confidence and replaces it with quiet authority. It burns away striving and leaves behind serenity. It destroys pretense and reveals power. You become both softer and stronger, both humble and unshakable. So let it burn. Let it finish its work. Let the ashes fall away and the gold emerge. You will not regret a single tear when you see what the fire was creating within you. You will look back at the furnace and say, "It was there I found my true form." The fire has not come to end you. It has come to crown you. There comes a moment in every divine journey when heaven whispers, "It's time to let go." The old season, with all its familiar rhythms and known faces, begins to lose its color. What once felt alive now feels heavy. Conversations that once ignited you now exhaust you. Paths that once fit you now feel too narrow. It is the signal the old season is breaking. Change, even when divine, can feel like loss. The ending of a chapter doesn't come with closure. It comes with faith. You may not understand why certain things are fading, why certain doors refuse to reopen, why opportunities you prayed for suddenly evaporate. But heaven knows what you cannot see. Some doors lead to distraction, some relationships to delay, and some comforts to spiritual decay. According to what is revealed in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 1, "To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven." No, those words are not philosophy, they are prophecy. They declare that even endings are divine appointments. When the old breaks, it makes room for the new. When what once carried you begins to collapse, it means the next structure is ready. You may feel like the ground beneath you is giving way, but it's actually shifting to align with new purpose. Heaven never allows stability to linger beyond its season. When the old begins to decay, it's a signal that the new is being born. That's why you feel torn, because growth always pulls. You are outgrowing spaces that were once sacred to your development. Do not resent the breaking, revere it. It means you've matured beyond what was meant to be temporary. It means heaven trusts you to walk by faith rather than familiarity. What looks like dismantling is actually divine renovation. You are being moved from survival to significance, from repetition to revelation. The breaking of the old season is not a punishment, it's promotion wearing a disguise. God dismantles structures not to destroy, but to deliver. Like a seed buried deep, you are being pressed so that new life can push through the surface. Every collapse is also a creation. You can't see it yet, but something radiant is forming underneath the rubble of what's ending. There will be days when your heart aches for what was. You'll miss the simplicity of old routines, the comfort of predictable patterns. Nostalgia will whisper that maybe you should go back, But listen carefully. Heaven never moves backward. You cannot return to what you have outgrown. The very peace you seek now lives in the unknown. You are crossing into a season where faith becomes navigation. There will be no clear map. Only the voice of the Spirit saying, "Go forward." You'll learn to move by inner peace, to trust signs instead of systems. The breaking of the old teaches you dependency. It removes the illusion of control and replaces it with intimacy. As the old breaks, you will also notice something strange. Your spirit feels lighter. The burdens that once defined you begin to dissolve. The fears that held you hostage lose their grip. Even memories that once brought pain begin to heal quietly in the background. That's the sign that the season has truly shifted. Your heart no longer bleeds where it used to. Heaven always breaks before it builds. The storm tears down the walls that confine the soul, but when the wind settles, the foundation remains stronger, purer, unshakable. You are that foundation now. What remains after the breaking is what is meant to last forever. Do not fear the empty spaces left behind. They are invitations, not absences. The silence that follows endings is holy ground. It's the pause before revelation, the breath before creation. Heaven does its best work in quiet ruins. So if everything around you feels like it's falling apart, lift your eyes. It's only heaven clearing the way. What you perceive as loss is actually alignment. The things leaving are making space for promises to land. The season breaking is not the end of your story. It's the turning of the page. Soon, the dust will settle, and what emerges will not resemble what was it, will surpass it. The breaking always hurts before it heals. But on the other side of surrender lies strength you've never known. You are not losing, you are shedding. You are not collapsing, you are being carved into something eternal. Let the old season go. Let what's fading fade. You don't need to chase what's behind when heaven is calling you forward. The breaking is not the end, it's the sound of your rebirth. The horizon is stirring with light. You can almost feel it, the quiet tremor in your spirit that whispers, "It's happening. Something divine is unfolding." Not just within you, but across the earth. The scattered are awakening. The sleeping are stirring. And the marked ones, the chosen, are rising. This is the global awakening of the marked ones. And you, beloved soul, are part of it. You've felt alone in your convictions, misunderstood in your depth, isolated by the weight of your discernment. But you were never alone. You were simply early. You carried the dawn before others saw the sunrise. Now, heaven is gathering those who share the same frequency across nations, time zones, and languages. Lights are flickering on one heart after another, responding to the same divine call. The ancient words recorded in Romans chapter 13, verse 11. Hecho again, the hour has already come for you to wake up from your slumber, because our salvation is nearer now than when we first believed. This awakening isn't a trend or a movement, it's a spiritual migration. The chosen are being pulled toward one another by invisible threads of purpose. Some connect through prayer, some through message, some through divine alignment online or in passing encounters. It's like scattered sparks finally finding each other to form a single flame. That's what this moment is. Heaven gathering its torches for one great fire. And that's why what you do next matters. This awakening is sustained not by noise, but by nourishment. Every act of engagement, every like, every share, every comment is more than digital reaction. It's participation. It's you saying, "I believe this fire must keep burning." When you interact, you are not feeding an algorithm, you are fanning a flame. Imagine the message like a candle in a vast room, alone. It flickers quietly, but when hundreds of hands shield it, pass it, protect it, it begins to illuminate the entire space. That's what your action does. It shields, strengthens, and spreads light. You are not a spectator here. You are a steward. And to those who have asked, "How can I help?" the answer is simple yet sacred. If this word has ever strengthened your faith, if these messages have met you in dark hours, then consider becoming a keeper of the flame. Support not out of obligation, but out of recognition. Every contribution, every offering, every donation is not a payment, it's partnership. It's pouring oil into a lamp that refuses to go out. Heaven's work has always been sustained through willing hearts. When you give, you're not funding words, you're fueling warfare. You are ensuring that messages of light continue to find the weary, the lost, the forgotten. You become part of a chain reaction of hope that stretches farther than you can imagine. Your small gesture becomes someone else's answered prayer. And beyond giving, there is sharing, the simplest yet most powerful form of ministry in this age. When you share light, you expand the reach of heaven's whisper. When you comment, you create connection. Someone scrolling through despair might stumble upon your words and feel seen for the first time. Never underestimate what God can do through your engagement. So, if this message resonates, if you feel the same stirring deep within, the sense that you've found your tribe among these words, then don't let it end with you. Speak in the comments. Leave a reflection, a prayer, a single word of faith. That simple act becomes part of the great chorus rising across the world, a chorus of chosen ones, declaring, "We are awake." Now, this awakening is not a moment, it's a mantle. It's a calling to live differently, love deeper, and walk boldly into the unknown. The world is desperate for authenticity, and the chosen are its answer. We are the living proof that light still triumphs over darkness, that love still redeems what hate tries to destroy. Like seeds scattered in fire, the marked ones bloom in chaos. You are part of that bloom. Every breath of faith you take is perfume to heaven. Every act of courage is a hymn. The global awakening isn't coming, it's here, and it looks like you. So, guard the flame. Tend it. Speak it. Share it. Let it ripple through your words, your actions, your kindness. And if your heart feels moved to pour oil into the work, to give, to support, to sustain, do it, knowing you're building altars of light across the world. We rise together, not as strangers, but as one body of fire watchmen, intercessors, warriors, healers spreading light that refuses to die. The dawn is not approaching. Beloved, chosen one, it has already begun. And now, the storm that was prophesied begins to unfold. It moves not only across nations but through souls, tearing down illusions and shaking false foundations. Yet amid the chaos, something remarkable happens. You stand. You are not untouched because you're hidden. You're untouched because you're anchored. This is the triumph over the coming tragedy. the victory that looks nothing like escape, but everything like endurance. The tragedy that unfolds around you will not define you. Others will panic, searching for safety in things that cannot save them. But you have already built your refuge in the unseen. The world trembles under weight it does not understand. But you are held steady by the same hand that calmed the waves for the disciples. What others call disaster, you recognize as divine rearrangement. As the Apostle Paul wrote in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 8, we are hard-pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, not abandoned, struck down, not destroyed. Look closely at what is happening in your spirit right now. The fear that once ruled your reactions has turned into stillness. You no longer interpret storms as punishment. You see them as portals. You understand that the winds of chaos are carrying seeds of new beginnings. That realization changes everything. You no longer cry, "Why me?" You whisper, "Show me. Chosen one." The storm does not stop because of you. It shifts because of you. Your obedience bends the path of calamity. You carry a frequency that repels destruction. When you pray, entire atmospheres reconfigure. When you walk into a room heavy with despair, peace follows you like a shadow. You are not a victim of the environment, you are its recalibration. The tragedy may come in many forms: the collapse of systems, the exposure of deception, the unraveling of what humanity once trusted. But even as the world mourns what is lost, heaven rejoices over what is revealed. Light does not apologize for exposing darkness, it simply shines. You have been trained for this moment, forged through isolation and refined by fire. This is not a test, this is a release. In this hour, discernment becomes your compass. You will feel pressure to react, to choose sides, to defend yourself, to fight battles that do not belong to you. Resist the temptation to move without instruction. The enemy thrives on confusion, but heaven moves through clarity. When others rush, you wait. When others shout, you listen. When others fear, you worship. That is how you triumph, not by force, but by faith. And while the tragedy unfolds, miracles quietly multiply. Provision appears where scarcity once reigned. Relationships mend that seemed beyond repair. Healing flows into spaces long numb with grief. The same storm that uproots the shallow ends up watering the deep. You are the deep, chosen one. You've been hidden underground for seasons, unseen and uncelebrated. But now the rain that terrifies others is the rain that nourishes you. You will notice divine protection manifesting in unusual ways. Conversations you miss, places you avoid without reason, instincts that save you from danger. All of these are heaven's choreography. Angels move subtly, redirecting you through whispers, ensuring that the tragedy passes but does not penetrate. Your covering is not superstition, it's covenant. Even when sorrow touches you, it cannot stay. It may knock at your door, but peace will answer first. You've learned that joy is not dependent on circumstance, it's rooted in communion. That is the secret of your strength. The world cannot steal what it never gave. As the storm continues, your light grows stronger. People will look to you for stability. You will not need grand speeches or dramatic gestures. Your calm will preach louder than words. You will be the embodiment of Psalm 46, still amid the shaking, secure amid the falling. The presence of God will radiate from your stillness. When it is over, and it will end, the world will look different. Many structures will fall, but what is of heaven will remain. And among the remnants, you will stand, not as a survivor trembling from what you endured, but as a witness glowing from what you became. You are living proof that divine peace is not the absence of storm, but mastery within it. The tragedy may rage, but it cannot define you. The storm may roar, but it cannot silence you. You were built for endurance, designed for victory, destined for triumph. The coming tragedy is not your downfall, it is your unveiling. The storm has passed now. The air is clearer, though the ground still bears the marks of shaking. Smoke lingers over the horizon, but sunlight cuts through it like a blade of mercy. You are standing in the aftermath, not broken, not lost, but transformed. The tragedy that threatened to bury you has become the soil of your rebirth. This is the hour of coronation. You have walked through darkness, and now heaven places a crown upon the survivor. You are not the same soul that entered the storm. The voice that once trembled now speaks with quiet authority. The heart that once fractured under pressure now beats in rhythm with eternity. Every scar glows faintly, not as a reminder of pain, but as proof of promise. The season of breaking has fulfilled its purpose. It has revealed the unshakable within you. You may not have realized it, but the whole of heaven has been watching. Angels who once guarded you now stand as witnesses to your coronation. They've seen your nights of silence, your days of surrender, your tears that watered unseen seeds. Now, the harvest stands tall around you. The long journey through refinement and trial has produced something precious, endurance that cannot be stolen, peace that cannot be shaken, and wisdom that cannot be counterfeited. As the Apostle James wrote in his letter, chapter 1, verse 12, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him." That crown is more than symbol, it's identity. It's the visible evidence of invisible victory. It cannot be seen with human eyes, but heaven recognizes it. The realm of darkness recognizes it too, which is why you'll feel a new kind of attention around you. You are no longer merely surviving spiritual warfare, you are commanding it. The authority forged in fire now flows through your words, your presence, your silence. The coronation of the survivor is not a ceremony, it's a state of being. It happens quietly, in the chambers of your spirit, where God places a mantle of glory over the shoulders of those who refuse to quit. You are among them. You stood when others fled. You prayed when others mocked. You waited when others wandered. And now, the same heaven that once tested you now trusts you. Look around you. What was once rubble now forms a foundation. What was once pain now speaks as purpose. The tears that once blurred your vision have become the river of anointing that flows through your words and actions. You are no longer defined by what happened to you. You are defined by what survived in you. Chosen one. This is what all the waiting was for. The rejection, the silence, the refining, the stretching, all of it was preparation for this identity. You were never meant to live ordinary. You were always destined to carry extraordinary grace. That's why the process was so fierce, because the crown is so weighty. Heaven never wastes endurance. It turns every moment of pain into authority. And now, authority rests on you like light on still water. You will find yourself speaking peace into storms without even realizing it. People will be drawn to you, not because of charisma, but because of calm. They will feel safety in your presence, the kind that only comes from someone who has walked through fire and found God waiting on the other side. The survivor's crown doesn't glitter, it glows. Its shine is quiet. Its brilliance, steady. It doesn't need applause to exist. Its worth is known only to those who carry it. That's why your peace now feels heavier than your pain ever did. It's the weight of divine trust. You have become a keeper of peace, a carrier of grace, a walking sanctuary in a restless world. Do not rush this season. Enjoy the stillness. Let gratitude breathe through you. The battle is over. And rest is not a reward. It is restoration. You are being reintroduced to life, to joy, to laughter, unburdened by fear. The light feels different now because you have learned how to see it. In this quiet victory, heaven does not applaud loudly, it smiles. The Father looks upon you and whispers, "You did not break. You believed." And those words echo through every realm, marking your name among the victors. The crown you wear is not made of gold, but of endurance and grace. It shines brighter than jewels because it was bought not by wealth, but by faith. You carry it not on your head alone, but in your heart, in your words, in the peace that follows wherever you go. You are no longer the wounded one, you are the crowned one. No longer the seeker, you are the found. Heaven's declaration over you is final and fierce. You have overcome, chosen one. You've reached the end of this divine journey, but really, it's only the beginning. You've walked through the warning, the fire, the storm, and the victory. Now you stand crowned, radiant, and reborn. Every word you've read was a mirror reflecting the truth that has always been inside you. You are chosen, not by chance, but by purpose. If these words found you, it's because heaven wanted them to. Let them keep echoing in your heart, reminding you that even when the world trembles, your spirit stands unshaken. And if this message spoke life into you, share it. Let it travel farther than your own screen. Someone, somewhere, is still standing in the dark, waiting for this same light. Leave a comment below your thoughts, your gratitude, your prayer. You never know whose spirit your words might lift. Like, share, subscribe not for numbers, but for connection. Each action becomes another ripple of hope, spreading across the waters of the world. The journey continues beyond this page, and heaven still walks with you. Keep shining, keep believing, keep standing. You are not just the chosen one, you are the proof that light always wins.